Okie doke, let's do a video. What do you say? This is the outdoor gym here at the Biscayne Dog Park, right outside the Miami Strong gym. There's a couple of really awesome gyms around here, which I haven't partook in yet. Anyways, let's go ahead and set a timer so this doesn't get ridiculous and turn into a bunch of rambling. Did you know that about 12 to 14 minutes is probably max on any speech? That is if you're just hitting one topic, I think. Now, there are some people that are gifted. They can do 2-hour speeches, 3-hour speeches, and somehow it works for them. But for the most of us who aren't like Tony Robbins or Jim Rohn, 12 to 14 minutes. Let's give it 14 minutes. Just come out of a somewhat heavy workout. Burn this fat off that's accumulated since I've been here in Miami. Since I'm not doing cardio plyo like I was in Northwest Arkansas. Didn't have that. Anyways, here we go. 14 minutes. Let the sun dry the sweat. Get a shirt back on. Timer right there. Little stab button right there. So let's open up with the salutation. Short form without the words. Alright, we'll open up the speech about traumas, of course. I've noticed something here since I've been here and got to been running around loose after the lockdown period. The homeless people, I've noticed something about the psyche of the homeless people. They all got this one thing in common: trauma. And I do believe this is what I'm looking at. I'll probably have to run some tests on it to see, somehow figure out the diagnostic systems. But it's going to sound weird, but it feels good to be around a bunch of people that suffer from the same thing I have all my life. It's like you can't handle your emotions. It's like you either blow up like a freaking psycho, or you just completely shut down and can't function. No happy medium whatsoever. So it's like you choose the latter of shutting down and avoiding, and then that becomes your operational system. There was a time throughout my life I looked at the history of when I worked with poultry, live poultry. I did about 24 years of that altogether, and I was good at it. And you know what? And I was good at working in a team. I'm really good at working. I'm gonna brag for a minute. Can I brag? All right. Working in a team of 6 or 7, that's where the power's at. But the thing, I look at my life, and you know, I've spent most of my life alone in solid silence and solitude. I look back at the history of those years when I did working with chickens. That was probably about 20 years worth right there, not including the live turkeys. But I would spend most of my time by myself, spend my breaks by myself, 99% of the time by myself. And looking back at it, you know, it's not that big a deal if I think about it, because that's just the way I reset. That's the way I gain my power. That's the way I get my senses back to me. That's how I get my wits about me again. That's how I can function. So having said that, knowing what I've gone through now and what I'm going through, it's learning how to process those emotions. It's learning how to just feel them out and to be able to call them for what they are, and to not suppress, but not to give full vent to them either. You know, to just let it go out easy, name it for what it is. You know, whether it's a shame or embarrassment. Most generally I can do it. Sometimes I drop the ball. Like if somebody says something and it kind of like belittles me or embarrasses me or something, I can feel that little burst of energy inside me, and I can step away and be like, humiliation, and I can say it out loud. And I can take a breath and just kind of feel it out for a minute. It used to be the way I was, I'd have the blow up, my hands would tremble, it's like full on attack mode. And it's like, in this kind of world you can't function like that. You just can't talk. You just can't uppercut somebody because they said something you didn't like. This is not a crazy house. It's not how we're supposed to do. So anyways, I don't want it done to me. I don't want it to do it to other people. So anyways, the thing is there's so much work to be had. And you know what? There's a place where it's bringing a common ground, where it's bringing that gap together in between people who normally would not mix, or people who can't relate to alcoholism and drugs none whatsoever. Those people can now relate because they're caught in those dopamine loops, addicted to the endless scrolling that deteriorates their focus. It deteriorates their mission and purpose. That aimless scrolling, it trains them to be aimless and missionless, and that is really hard on the psyche. So normally where the addicts and alcoholics could not mix with these other people who never smoke, never drink, never do no drugs like that. Now they got that common ground. And it's not just that has that common ground, that other common ground, people who are addicted to pornography, who normally were trapped in that shame loop and could not find their way out. There's another common ground that goes even deeper than that. That common ground was there before, but that loop didn't close and it didn't have an overlap. Before it was a loop of women would be caught in that kind of thing, but it was more of like reading novels that were really sexually graphic. Same kind of, like pornography, only different. Instead of visual, it's of the psyche. So it's like, you look at where that common ground meets like that, and it's a very unique place to be. And as we walk into this unique place, we got to figure this out and sort it out without killing each other, without hating each other, without getting caught up in the shame, the blame, all the delusion, all the toxic relationships, all the toxic forgiveness culture. Right now we got so much toxic forgiveness culture that's going on and on and on and on and on. I bet even right here in Miami, as healthy as what most people look like, to run a diagnostic on the average relationship, I can almost guarantee probably 8 out of 10. And yeah, that is a high number. I would say 8 out of 10 relationships are toxified from a toxic forgiveness type of thing. The only way a healthy, true love can flow is if there's that accountability, that justice, and then forgiveness. But usually it's a smidge of accountability or a smidge of the justice, and then going straight to forcing the forgiveness and trying to make it like that. And that kind of thing just goes hand in hand with all that doom scrolling and that scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. You see so many people walking around, they got their phone in their hand. They're not even looking around, they're not even talking to people. It's like just so disconnected, so disconnected. And when we do that, it's like we make our emotional resilience so freaking weak. And I guess this brings us to this one fork in the road right here. And this is the fork in the road where so many people did not have any common ground to fight the same fight for the same battle for the same reasons. Now it converges into that bottleneck and it goes into that one place. And that's where we're at. So anyways, we've got lots of work to do, a lot of trauma to resolve, a lot of emotional literacy to be out there, to be practiced, to be had. So anyways, having said that, we've got a lot of work. Let's close this with a closing salutation. As true love is the future of humanity. As true love is the side of humanity. As true love is the other side of humanity. As true love is below the feet of humanity. As true true love is above the heads of humanity. His true love is within humanity. His true love is without. He casts his true love spell all about. Life's not all gloom and doom, even though it sure as hell feels like it most of the time. Life's not that bad. See you in the funny papers.